Como eu vos tinha dito há pouco, vamos ter agora a apresentação do Frederic, da EcoRights, que nos vai falar sobre distribuição internacional. Deixo, portanto, com o Frederic.
Good morning. Thank you very much for inviting me to continue the great speech this morning from Chris. I fully agree that it's a very interesting time, quite challenging, because I think lots of things are changing and will change even more than we think. But for producers of good content, such as Portuguese producers, I think there is a lot of potential. And not at least Netflix has really taught the world that, because like 5 years ago, the classic thing when we came to any country was that, oh, this kind of content will never work in Chile, or will never work in Italy, or will never work here. And I think Netflix has shown that it's simply not true anymore. Anything can work anywhere. And what we are specializing in is non-English language drama. There we are being very successful in building up drama export from different countries. Our claim to fame is Turkish drama. There we started basically 12 years ago. An old friend of mine, Çağatay, came to me and said, "I've done a drama series, Fredrik. Do you want to screen it?" And I perhaps smiled a little bit inwards and said, "Yes, of course, I'll screen it." And I went to him and did it, and I just loved it. And that was a cell that we launched 10 years ago, and ever since we've been extremely successful in being a part of a Turkish drama wave. That started to be, but it was not only about Turkey. Turkey is amazing, but it's more of a general trend where actually an executive, head of director at Netflix told me that Narcos was, like 2 years ago when it was launched, America's most watched TV program. And that's 60% in Spanish, or I think 80% in Spanish. It was more popular than the Super Bowl. And I think that trend, they don't release the figures, but really non-English language drama has a lot of potential. And that's our job, to help producers to explore that. So we have offices in Stockholm, Istanbul, Madrid, and Seoul. We are a compact team of 20 people, and our job is to represent producers, meaning the owners of the IP that we represent. It's in most cases co-owned by the broadcaster, but really to take that to a next level. Last year we sold for $40 million, and it's growing. We represent 3,000 hours. It's growing by around 1,000 hours per year, mainly Turkish. We licensed actually 14,000 hours last year into the world, which is pretty massive amount of TV. We invest a lot in marketing, because in this new market is really about having your show to be seen and recognized, because it's not only in the US they produce much more than before, it's the same all over the world. And that's why the focus is more important than ever, that you actually really focus on that hit show. And then you can build based on that hit. We're also working a lot with script adaptations. We spoke a little bit about the possibility to adapt scripts in America, and that's one potential, but there are many others. We have a few scripts right now where we have more than 7-8 different adaptations around the world, because with all this amount of drama being produced, producers are starved of good scripts. And of course, if you can come with a good script already, then the risk for the client that you have is lower. So we do around 10 script adaptations per year, and that is growing. And we are, since December last year, we had an old investor that invested in us many years ago, and that we replaced with CJE&M, which is Asia's largest media company. So we are part of a bigger entity right now. So just a quick little introduction of what we do. So the way we see the market is like the classic model where you have a producer working for one broadcaster. It's still a very nice scenario because it's safe, but it's a little bit unlimited. We want to work with producers in a different way, where we represent the producer together with the broadcaster, and the first thing we do is to, arrange the financing, share the equity with the different parties involved. I mean, the original broadcaster is super important, that investment is very important, but then we add other components to it and share the equity, who's owning what. Then once you have a show produced, of course you have a pay and free TV window that is still there. It's tending more and more to be, older audience and less attractive depending on the territory you are on Earth. But then, of course, the SVODs and the TVODs, there you can do, which is interesting to see because most American series are like in many markets, they are on 5, 6, 7 different platforms. If you are in Korea, for example, the classic thing for an American network show is to be placed on eight platforms with revenue share. So it takes a bit more in investment. American drama is tending to be much less attractive because nobody watches it, the classic network show anymore in the world, more or less. But you can still put it on rev share platforms. So the whole SVOD and TVOD and FVOD is becoming much more complex, but much more important. Most Turkish series have around like 1 billion views per series on YouTube. And that is becoming, so they're put up on YouTube mainly in Turkish, but when the CPM is growing, that is becoming more and more money. 5 years ago, the CPM in Germany was $5 per thousand. Now it's up in 15, and in some countries it's up to 25. And of course, if you can put it up on YouTube and make a better deal with them and arrange that properly, then that can be an important, add-on money. And it's also funny because very few of the free TV and pay TV clients are actually complaining that the series is on YouTube because they don't really get it. And it's also, even it increases your capability of being high on the rankings when Netflix buys things because it's becoming higher in the social media ranking. So it's all becoming like one game where you manage all the different windows together, some tending more and more to become like a music industry where you put it on Spotify and you manage the direct-to-consumer relationship through a platform more or less yourself. So that, I think, is the overall trend, but still to produce TV is much more expensive than music, so you have to manage it more properly. And then we have on the last there is the format remakes, where we do lots of remakes, but you need to be very careful in doing them, not doing them too early. It's better to wait a few years so you can sell your original first. And then be very careful, because in the American market, for example, they pay incredibly small amounts for a remake. We have, for example, one case where we have a Turkish script called The End, where we did a pilot in the US for ABC that didn't get picked up. If that would have happened, we would have gotten $500,000 per season. But then instead, we had no holdbacks in the rest of the world, and now we're making 6 different versions of the same script and making probably between 2 and 3 million a year. So the American market is good for prestige to make a remake, but if you can manage other remakes in the world, or getting it if you take Mother from Japan, for example, which is a big hit in Turkey, they are having 30% of the back end plus the license fee, and that can bring in 50 times more money than a US remake. The problem with the US remake is also that you have lots of restrictions what you can do with the original tape. So when you do American, it's fun for the prestige, small money, can be good, but be careful what you give away. So this is the work that we do with producers, and through our offices around the world, we're doing this flower in each local regional market, because there's a lot of potential if you do it properly in Latin America, if you do it properly in Asia, in Middle East, Eastern Europe, and everywhere else. We try to push quite hard and big on new series and really make the buyers, because we sometimes call the buyers of TV shows like sheeps. You have to have a dog running them because if some start to run, you get them to run all in the same direction. And because they are very cautious of taking risks, So if you get enough and make good PR about the first deals, they all tend to do the same thing. So our job is very much to get that running, and therefore we need to be involved early. A very interesting case is the Turkish drama in Latin America. That was, we were going to NatB for many years, and I had many meetings where they said, Fredrik, you're a nice guy, but don't try to sell me a Turkish series. It will never work in Latin America. And then we convinced Juan Ignacio at Mega in Chile, who was at the time the 5th channel. They were losing $1 million a year. And we convinced them to try Turkish. I got calls the weeks before saying that, oh, you have to change the music. Latin people will never accept this music. And it will never work. You have to dub it or you can't dub in this accent. It has to be this way. And in 1 year, Mega put 4 Turkish dramas in prime time, and they became #1 channel, earning $1 million instead of losing in just 1 year time, and they've kept the #1 position since then. This is a summary. This is actually 2 years old. I think it's even stronger right now, where this is the top 15 shows of all TV shows on air in those countries, and the yellow ones are Turkish series dubbed into Spanish. It's just an incredible performance. And even the, some episodes of Fatma Gul, for example, had a higher rating than the football match between Argentina and Chile. So it's really becoming an enormous phenomenon. And I will analyze a little bit why I think it works so well. There are just a little overview of our case studies, and I will be a bit generous of sharing the numbers just to give you a perspective. SL was the first one we launched. We've sold it to 150 countries, meaning like probably 120 different licenses. We've had like 70-80% ratings a share in some markets. And it's still selling very well. We make 10, and it's a 10-year-old series. We launched Karaday right after, sold it for more than $25 million. The End was kind of a flop in Turkey. It didn't work very well. It was a little bit too modern, but it was a very strong script. And we've done, we sold it to 40 countries, but we've done, I think, 6 different versions right now, including El Accidente, that was a big hit in Spain last year. And then, when you're selling a script, what they did in Spain, they just used the first plot in the first episode, and they changed the story completely. And we allowed that because it was actually a much better script in Spain than in Turkey. But that's the way it goes. I mean, if you start with the option and manage it properly, even the development of a local producer is becoming your property if you do it well. Fatma Gul is a Canal D project, but we've handled the format rights. We adapted it in Indian. It's coming up in Spain after the success there. Elif is another case. We tried a daily series in Turkey, extremely low budget, quite poor technical quality, especially in the beginning, on a small channel, Canal 7, which is more a conservative channel. It just happened to work very well because it was super traditional. It's really like social realism put in a daily drama. We're now on air we made 50 deals, 45 deals, and it's on the 6th season, so it's more than ordered for 6 seasons, so we have 1,200 episodes. I will come back to the numbers of that one. The other ones are more high-end big drama series with the biggest stars in Turkey from Ayapim that we launched the last year, all performing really well. And now we have a slate of some big weekly dramas, but also some daily dramas that are coming up right now that are performing really well. But we can sell a little bit cheaper because lots of the clients of linear TV channels are, a bit in financial trouble. So therefore, we think it's good for them to sell something cheaper that they can fill the schedule, but that still works very well. This is a summary of some of the sales figures. Brave and Beautiful, we are still now on 16 million in sales. Stiletto is a newer one, 8 million. Elif, as you see, because it's such a long one, we sold it for 33 million, expecting by the end of this year. So, I mean, top series, they're selling between 20 and 30 million. And this is because the structure in the Turkish market, Turks are very clever. They have done it very well. There are several reasons why it works. Of course, it's production quality, but it's also the structure of the industry. So let's take a little look of how, let me see. basically the subject of this panel or discussion, how to launch a global hit, and make a case study of what has the Turks done right, both business structure and content-wise, and what can Portugal learn? Because I think you do. I've been screening more intensively the last weeks, 5 or 6 of your series, and I think there's a lot of potential there. But I think you can perhaps consider some structural things to make it fly, really. Why it sells so well? It's a very competitive home market. Of course, they have high budgets. When we came in Latin America, we understood that the Turks are probably producing per hour at 2 or 3 times the classic Latin American telenovelas. And of course, I mean, quality pays off. It's also that they have a new way of storytelling. I think Turkey happens to be very centrally positioned. They look like the average global citizen in a way. It's a bit of east and a bit of west. So it just happened to be very well positioned in the global race. It's a clear business structure. The Turkish market, media market distribution is kind of a low degree of vertical integration. Producers are producers, broadcasters are broadcasters, distributors are distributors. That makes every layer very competitive. So if you don't deliver well, you're out for that, and you're being punished immediately. And that pressure is very important. And the Turkish government has been very clever. Erdogan went to Latin America promising that we will dub every Turkish series into Spanish on the government's expense. And of course that helps. I think it's a more clever, instead of having production incentives, having American production coming to your country and you pay part of a bill to support the actual sales, it's much more dynamic. So if you go to the Turkish government, you can get the subsidy to dub it into a new language, for example, which is very important because it makes that first deal easier. If maybe the first deal you don't even finance the dubbing, but once it's dubbed, you can sell it a lot. And then there is very high incentives for producers. They make a lot of money for the series that work. I will come back to that. But on the content side, why does it work? We were a little bit scratching our heads for Latin America. Why does it work? Because the story is that the Turks in the 80s had lots of Latin American telenovelas on air in prime time. So a whole generation had like those classic telenovelas that they watched, and they learned, and then they made it themselves. So one day, Alejandra came up into Istanbul. She got fired from her job. She was a clerk in a bank. She had no money. She spent half a year watching Turkish series, most of them in Turkish. And she got so fond, so she borrowed money from her mother to go to Istanbul to visit the set of Karaday. And she came in the office, a wonderful lady. We've now hired her to do translations for us. So she got a half-time job at least for us now, and she's very happy. She's working what she really loves. And we asked her, how is Turkish drama different from the telenovelas that you've been watching before? And just to make a very quick conclusion, why she thinks it's different. First of all, obviously the production quality. It's compelling original scripts, it's important subplots. Classical telenovela tend to be more straightforward with one story. Turkish series are very complex with different subplots. And that also makes it more interesting for more audiences. There is always a male, even though the main story often is quite female, there is always an underlying plot that is also more appealing to perhaps to classical men. The great original music, the music is just amazing in Turkish series, and that really works. That was what they advised us to change in the launch in Chile. Actors are attractive. I mean, many of them are ex-models and so, but compared to telenovela stars who look perhaps more artificial, they look more real. They don't feel like super, they look more like you and me. They're dirty, they are, bad and good. They're not like too plastic. And there's a very high degree on scenes shot on location. The classic telenovela is very much in studio. And now it doesn't cost, you don't need lighting. It's become much more easy to produce things on location. And Turkish series is a lot in location. The Other thing that ethics and moral values plays a very significant role. It's very much about how to be a good human being. Perhaps a little bit old-fashioned, you can feel, but very relevant, and I think we're missing that. I mean, how do you do if your father asks you to marry somebody that he has decided? What's the moral or revenge and all those kind of things, but done from a very, let's say, yeah, about you know, moral issues. And they dare to be silent a lot. They can have, like, we've clocked scenes where the beautiful male actors spending like 3 minutes of explaining how much he loves someone. And much of those times he's actually silent. And that's very daring for a producer to, I mean, in most other countries people talk all the time. But it really works. And the gender roles is interesting. Men are protecting women, they are gentlemen, but they don't treat women as possessions. They are like, you know, it's actually a much more stronger female role than you perhaps would expect in those series. Which I think is, you know, obviously the, and also the emphasis of true love without showing all the explicit scenes. It's a part of perhaps a more conservative culture, but I think people are a bit tired. I mean, you understand it doesn't get more attractive just because you show more. It can actually be more attractive if you sometimes show less. And what more? Yeah, loyal brotherhood and communal support are important. And yeah, those were her conclusions. One thing that I think is very important, why it works so well in Turkey, is how they share the back end. And the back end means the revenues from international sales after the different costs. Because in Turkey, the producer gets 50% from the first deals, normally, between 30% and 50%. And that sounds generous, perhaps a bit even stupid by the broadcaster to do that, because they pay most of the budget. But really, to do this structure it's a plus-sum game. It's great. The more you give, the more you get as a broadcaster. And I think Turkish producers has been clever in negotiating that, and I think also the broadcasters has understood that it actually works. So I think it's really worth taking a look at. An international comparison, UK, for example, they had, in 2012, they introduced something called Terms of Trade, which was kind of a law, but not really. It was a voluntary agreement pushed by the government, where the producer keeps all the IP. And it's a very extreme law. The broadcaster can only get 15% of international revenue. In the UK case. And they can only keep it for 5 years. After that period, the producer has to own it all. And what happened is that their export grew from 175 million in 2004 to 1.3 billion in 2016. Because the dynamics of this, and think of it, I mean, a broadcaster is a great organization to finance production, to sell advertising, and to make it really attractive to the audience in the home country. But it's not really they're not really normally set up to make a great export. And of course they should be rewarded for the investment they do. But the truth is, if you want to make it grow, you have to share more, because the producer, who is having that stress delivery, hard budget, if you're going to have him to run that extra mile or to invest a little bit more, you have to reward him, because then you get quality, then you get goal excitement. And I'm absolutely convinced that Turkey wouldn't have been half the way if they would have more of a total buyout. In Turkey, they have 50-50 split after distribution fee, and they've become the second largest exporter of drama in the world, from nothing 10 years ago. Sweden is another interesting example. Is much smaller country, but there is a back end of 30 to 50%, and the global sales is growing a lot, quite trend-setting. Germany, on the other hand, they have still a total buyout. They do a lot of good drama, but they hardly sell anything. I mean, you have, you know, a few series, scripted reality, they have been pushed in to sell their scripts instead of the ready-mades. But it's not a very dynamic market, and I think it's because the big media conglomerates doesn't share. It doesn't mean that I don't think the brave investment of a broadcaster should pay off. But I am just telling it has to be organized in a way where everybody makes a good deal from it. Otherwise, nothing will happen. And too much happens in the world to be stuck in that situation. Yeah, those were my conclusions.
Thank you, Frederick, for your presentation. E agora vamos seguir com a apresentação. Penso que temos que fazer aqui uma alteração dos dispositivos. Vamos convidar a Geraldine Gonard a juntar-se a nós, a fazer a apresentação. Pode ser que no final que nos sobre tempo para abrir algumas questões. Caso contrário, teremos sempre tempo nos networkings, se pusermos largos, para podermos conversar. Geraldine, please come.
Okay. Good morning. Yes. Good morning, everybody. First, I would like to thank Susanna and the association for inviting me to have the opportunity to present Coneta Fiction. As you see, I'm not totally Spanish. I'm a quite white French woman living in Spain since 20 years and running my own company since 3 years, focused on production event, international distributions, and consulting. And 3 years ago, I decided to launch an event called Coneta Fiction, which is an event very focused on content, fiction content for TV. We put together industry and talent to talk about creativity, productions, and financing. This idea came on the fact that I traveled a lot during the last 20 years working in international sales. And I went to another market, meeting European people, and obviously meeting people from America. And I saw the huge change between the way of consuming TV and fiction and the way also of doing series, no? And I saw that there were a lot of interest for both continents to do things together. But we didn't have a place to meet and to do this meeting with people. So I felt that Spain was one of the best bridge to give to Europeans and American people to meet during a couple of days and to talk about fiction content. So we are going to organize this year the third edition of Coneta Fiction. It took place in Santiago de Compostela during 2 years, and now it goes to Pamplona in the north of Spain, very famous for San Fermin, the running bells. You should, I guess you know, all of you. And it took place during 3 days, mid-June, when it's not too hot, and it was not raining anymore. And it's 3 days and 3 nights. I'm always insisting on the 3 nights because, you know, the networking during the night is very important too. Beginning on Monday 17th, ending on Thursday 20th in the afternoon. So, well, just some element about why we are now in a very good moment for series around the world. I'm not going to give you more details about we are in a booming moment, especially with Spanish content. No, as said before, there's such as Casa de Papel. No, has made Spain now a very important country for fiction. And it's true that, as I said you before, during years, the South American people, companies, and producers were doing their own stuff together. No? They didn't have any necessity to co-produce or to export their content. And the European was also already co-producing a lot, especially in the cinematographic side. And when came the huge platform like Netflix, HBO, and the other ones, suddenly they saw that they have a necessity to make bigger projects with higher budget. So they began to talk with the other side of the Atlantic. So as they changed their way of co-producing and they changed their way of looking for partners, it was the right moment 3 years ago to open an event where we give them the possibility to meet the European. No? And the other side, the European also was looking for new partners and especially for looking for new creators. So Conecta Fiction came at this moment, and that's why we are celebrating now the third edition. So it's, as I said before, is a meeting between two continents, Europe and America, and including the United States, because you know that United States with the Spanish community is also very strong, and of course including also Brazil. It's exclusively dedicated to TV fiction content. It means miniseries, TV series, digital series, telefilm. And it's really a platform for creators and talent and industry. So the specificity, it mixes together a lot of professionals coming from all these continents. It's quite unique for this city I just told you, and it's quite exclusive in the way that we are trying, it's not easy, to limit the capacity of the event. We are more looking for quality than quantity. I mean, we are prefer to have few people, but really interested in investing in fiction and doing fiction than have too much people. So we are quite an exclusive event in that way. Okay, we had, the first year we had about more than 400 delegates. Attendance, for me, was personally a quite huge surprise. I was not expecting so much people. The second year were about 550, and this year we try not to be more than 600, okay, which is not be easy, we think, because the event is growing, but as I said before, we would like to keep small as much as possible. That's right now an event that is not missed event. That's true that it's one of the most important TV co-production events we have now around the world, especially between these two continents. And it comes at the right moment at the end of the first semester of the year, you know, after the other event like Series Mania or Meet TV we have the beginning of the year. Well, just to show you where is Pamplona, in case you don't know, just in the north of Spain. Pamplona is part of the Navarra region. It's a very active region now. Regarding especially shooting, they launched a high tax rebate, 35% recently, and they are developing a lot of their industry. So it's a very nice place to set up the next edition of Conecta Fiction. Okay, and it's where we are going to be on June. Some shooting inside the city, which has a beautiful historical center. And exactly, you have at the second pictures the Baluarte, which is the Congress Center, will take place the event, which is in the historical center. I'm going to show you after a small clip of Navarra Film Commissions and the CLAVNA, the Audiovisual Navarra cluster, that give you an idea of what is the region. All the images are nearly from Navarra, except the last one, where you see a huge wells. Of course, they don't have any sea. you can see at least what they did there, what they produced. As I told you before, they're very active on shooting, and you see some pictures even of Game of Thrones that has been shot there. I think it works. Yeah. There is a sound normally. Okay, so what's the main objective of the event? Exchange and internationalization, of course, for all the attendants, connecting to continents, boosting the local talent and the local industry. Who attends Connect Fictions? We have a mix of everybody doing fiction. Who is everybody doing fictions? Broadcasters, of course, production companies, investors, creative talents, as I told you before, showrunners, scriptwriters, director, actors. Here you have a picture of Alex Gonzalez, one of the most Spanish famous actor we have now. OTT platform, of course, international distributors, telco, production service company, institution and press. Everybody that makes a series. Because when you go to Connect Fiction, you have the opportunity to find all the elements that makes the series, what we call in the US the package, no? Here it's a way of doing your own package. You can see some pictures of the of content produced by attendants coming to Connecta Fictions. This is a mix of series coming from both continents. Regarding the agenda and the activities in Connecta, we have the first one, the most important one, is the networking. Connecta is a networking place, mainly. We have a lot of meeting rooms and large area where people can have a meeting, free table. And we have a lot of tools online, and I'm going to show you very quickly to make your own agenda. After, we have a huge section about pitching projects. We have 5 sections. We have the most important one is the co-pro series sections is open for any producers that has a project that link the 2 continents, which is looking for financing. What does it mean linking 2 continents? As I told before, Connecta Fiction is a bridge between 2 continents, and we would like to improve the exchange between the 2 continents. So it could be a project, a financing co-production project, but it could be also a historical co-production project. Explain me, it could be perfectly a story of a Chilean woman taking place in Portugal. Okay, it could be a production 100 from Portugal, but talking about the story of a Chilean woman. It's a session that we opened 2 weeks ago online to submit project. I will explain you after how you can do it if you're interested in presenting something. The second one is the Pitch Fundaciones GAE. GAE is the Society of Authors we have in Spain. And it's a session where we are going to show the 6 best projects selected by the GAE every year. This project came from a huge call they do every year. They receive about 200 projects. They keep only 6. And they are studied by and held by a mentoring process. Last year it was Javier Olivares. Maybe you know him from Ministerio del Tiempo, who do the mentor. This time we have Aurora Higuera, another very famous Spanish scriptwriter. And we present these 6 projects from the talent. And if you have a producer interested in taking the project, you can be there and option the project and develop with the talent. The third one is digital series. We launched for first time last year. It's open for digital project, for platform, maximum 25 minutes per episode. Once again, we opened the call 2 weeks ago. You also can submit online. And it's for series mainly for channels like Plays, Vlogster, all these internet channels we have. The fourth one is Pitch Clips. That's a session we do together with Spanish scriptwriter syndicate, ALMA. And it's a short session of clip story told in 30 seconds. Okay? Also open to be optioned by any producers. And the last one is a branded content contest, competition. Personally, that's something very, very important for me because I think the way of consuming TV is changing a lot, and the publicity will change a lot. We are going to consume advertisement. So more and more brands are now looking to produce format like branded content. And we would like to open more and more this section to give opportunity both for the brand and the publicity agency and for the other side, for the talent and producers to connect and to do content together. So we launched this contest for first time last year. We are going to do it again this year. Last year we did with Spanish beer, Estrella Galicia, of course, being in Santiago. This year we are going to launch with another brand, and it's open for everybody that wants to present his idea and project. After we do conference, we were focused on 2 countries mainly. Last year we had Colombia and Germany. This time we are Chile, and we are now closing the European countries. So we always choose 1 country from each continent to make a large focus on this industry. And of course we do conference on other matter, but we do not try to do too much conference because we know that people like to make meetings. And after they complain that they cannot do the meetings and the conference at the same time. So we're going to do less conference and doing maybe more workshop because we like to be really practical. We prefer small sessions where you can exchange some case studies or practical studies. I think it's much more profitable for all of us to have this opportunity, and also is also an opportunity to connect between each other. And of course, we have other networking moments like breakfast, cocktail, and lunch, etc. Okay? As I told you before, that's the two focus we did on the countries. The first year we did only Argentina because it was the first edition. We didn't have time to close with the European country, but that's where we are. Just to show you some example of projects that already came from the first Conecta fiction. We are going to show on June the first series coming from the co-pro series. Pitching is Invisible Heroes, and by a pure coincidence, a nice coincidence is distributed by Frédéric.
Very good series.
It's a very good series. We are going to show first episode is a co-production between Chile and Finland. So it's amazing to see two separated geographic countries that had done these co-productions. It's based on a true story, a story of a Chilean, Finnish embassy, that allows, helps nearly 2,000 people to escape under the Pinochet dictature. So it's an amazing story, shot in a cinematographic way, high quality co-productions. And we're going to show first episode at Conecta. It will not be a premiere because I think it will be released before on the TV station, but Conecta is not a festival event, it's a professional event. What we want to show is the quality of productions, and we have after, of course, the after case study, because I think we all want to know how they did it to make it. Okay, very interesting. And the other one, for example, that's a project coming from last year, from Pitch Fundacion's guy, is called Malacca. He got an award also from our TV, after I want to tell you. Malacca is a story written by Daniel Corpas, the executive producer Javier Olivares. It takes place into the south of Spain. It's a thriller, and it's now in production. So it's for us good news to see project coming from the event. I didn't tell you before that we have awards on the co-pro session and the DG series session. RTV gave an award, which is a development contract on the co-pro session, and Plays, which is part of the RTV group, also gave an award to the DG series. I mean, we receive every year a lot of projects. We receive in co-pro session 70 the first year, the second year 100. We have independent jury, editorial jury that select 10 projects. The 10 projects are invited to come to the event and make the pitch in front of the audience. And for the 10 project, RTV choose one for giving an award, which is the development contract. Okay, so so we are very nice to see that maybe we have some footage to show. We don't know at the next edition too. We already got a Portuguese project into the session. Okay, I'll give you good news. It's not like Netflix who doesn't have any. Yes, we have one. The first year we have a project by Nuno Bernardo from the Active Entertainment. In Portuguese, Colégio do Templo. I did it right? 6 cents high. I know the project is still moving on. So yes, present your project. You can ending in the 10 finalists, have the opportunity to pitch. If not, do not hesitate to come. You could have a lot of meetings with people to present your project too. Okay, that's some figures of Conecta I told you before. People participating. We have a mix of European, Latin America, North America, of course, a large participation of Spanish people, and we hope that this year we have a lot of Portuguese people and producers coming, okay? Some speakers, okay, just to give you a sense. As I told you before, Conecta is for top executive, quality executive, because we want to have people that be able to invest in your project. If not, it doesn't work that hard. So, Javier Olivares, scriptwriters, that's some of them, we can put other figures. Deputy Director of Fiction, Arte Alexandre, who is investing a lot of co-productions, Keshet, Colombian TV Group, a lot of people that now are very compromised with co-productions fiction. some words about people who came. We said about connected fictions. Yeah, we had Netflix, but there's not only Netflix, okay? You can do business with other company, other platform. HBO is very active too. The TV channel like Caracol also looking for partners. I mean, all of them are very interesting in making business with the European company. And some companies that participate at the event, okay? So you see that are the main players of both continents in terms of TV content fiction. That's people that support the event, of course, the Navarra government and the Foundation's guide. And some code. We have a lot of press coming, so if you go to Connected Fiction, if you have any things to announce, please do not hesitate to use us like a platform. We are very pleased to also to communicate any co-production agreement you have on board or anything you want to announce. And that's some press codes, okay? So you have all the specialized press coming. And that's some image of last year, of course, in Santiago de Compostela. Okay, so just to see the ambience of the event, and that's us. I'm going to show you after small clip again after what about Conecta in Santiago last year. Just to finish the presentation, would like to show you the website. I'm going more on the practical side, okay, if you want to submit your project. Change the screen. Okay. Yes? Hope so. Ready? Thanks. here. Just to show you quickly, if you want to submit your project, the call is open to April the 4th, so still have 1 month to prepare. It's free. You can submit to up to 3 projects for the co-pro and 2 for the digital series. So you just need to create your account, and after you go to the pitching session project, and here you can submit the project, okay? Once you are here, at the end, you have an option when you create your account to fill information. It's very easy. You don't have to send too much information. We don't need especially a script of the first episode, but of course we need a very good Bible. If you have any letter of interest from any TV station, it also helps with selection. And production budget as financial plan. Okay, if you have also any visual materials like a mood trailer, also it helps. We advise you to have at least in the co-pro series session 10% of the budget compromise or guarantee. What it means? It means from your own company or from any TV station, from any tax rebate institution, whether you have at least something on the table. Why? Because you're going to meet with important top executive coming from big channel, and in front they need someone coming with a strong project and able to develop them together. So we recommend. It's not obligation, but recommend. We have an international jury composed of people, top professional, that's going to evaluate the project and select the 10 final projects. And the same thing for the digital series project, okay, section is here, okay? And the same process, also about the information we need. And we are going to open the branded content competitions at the end of March, okay? And after you have a lot information about the market, but mainly here is all the information. And when you is connected, I'm going to connect myself. Okay, just to show you, because it's a very practical tool. We developed this platform for, okay, you go to your profile, and this is when you get your accreditations, okay? So you have your profile here. You can fill up the information about what you're looking for or what you're proposing. And after we have a system on making your agenda online, okay? That it doesn't appear, let's go. Well, it doesn't want to go on, or maybe that's this. Okay, so if you have a system, a platform, then you can make your agenda and meet people. You have access to all the list of participants. That's another way for us to help you to connect and to meet people, all right? So if, from my side, end with a presentation. I don't know if there is questions. If not, during the lunch, maybe we can take any moment or any doubt you have about how to go to Connect Fusion and to present some project. I'm available for you to answer to any question you have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Geraldine. Vamos então fazer agora a nossa pausa. Encontramos aqui de novo às 3. Até já.